So here's Danille Stewart from WSPS, who's going to share with us some of the resources and services that they provide with respect to workplace mental health. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Val. I will try and keep this relatively brief so we can get back on track. I shouldn't hold you hostage for too long, but a brief synopsis just to give you a little bit idea of, as one of the system partners, what WSPS, or Workplace Safety and Prevention Services, is doing to help raise awareness and combat workplace mental health and make our workplaces healthier and safer. I work on the mental health action team as a consultant. There's 5 of us on the team, led by Andrew Harkness, and we're quite excited to be a part of this, working in a lot of collaboration with the Ministry of Labour and, of course, OCAL and all the different systems partners. So just a little brief background. We are one of the health and safety associations that Val had mentioned earlier. And so we service a certain sector, so primarily agriculture, manufacturing, warehousing, the film industry, a couple other areas as well. So just to give you a little bit of a background there on the type of work that we do, and this pertains to all health and safety. When we talk about workplace mental health, the way we try and categorize or segment, I should say, our population and the customers that we work with is based on 3 different streams that we've kind of started talking about. One being the getting started stream, which is those in perhaps the red category, understanding and building literacy and reducing stigma. This is the beginning of the conversation. Then we have the gaining momentum stream, which kind of falls into that green category there. Organizational workplace factors, needs assessments are some of the typical types of work that we do with that customer. So that's where we might see the MIT tool, Guarding Minds at Work, resources and all of different tools such as that. When we go into the raising the bar, which is the blue area there, it's workplace mental health frameworks following that national standard, learning how to implement. One of the projects that we're currently working with the Ministry of Labour funding is the OSHPIP, or Investing in Healthy Minds. And so that is we're working with 13 public health units. And from there, we've got over 300 organizations that get together over a 6-month period of time, one morning per month. And they learn how to effectively implement the national standard. Or if they're not implementing the national standard, where might they fit on those 3 streams? And what are some of the tools and resources they can start to use to understand workplace mental health in their organization? When we're speaking to our clients, we also try and use, or we start off the conversation with the readiness survey. Some of you may have seen before, perhaps. And so this helps us to understand, are they in that getting started, gaining momentum, or raising the bar? We get them to assess themselves. They can ask some questions. We can pull up some different resources that they may have out there, help them understand that assessment, and they mark themselves where they feel they might be. They add up that score, and then they divide it by 5, and that'll give us a score. If they're less than 3, we see them in the the getting started stream. If they're around the 4, probably at the gaining momentum, and 5 or greater, we're seeing them in the raising the bar section. So it's a nice little way that we can start to build that literacy. And it's important when we talk to organizations that we understand that the organization itself may be in any one of those 3 categories or segmentations, but the really important thing to know is that the employees may be at varying levels of that as well. So we're talking about bringing these conversations into onboarding right from the get-go. You're going to have people at the getting started stream, perhaps, that are new to the workplace, new to the organization, need to understand these pieces. So this is a cycle, this is an evolution. This isn't something that starts once and finishes the next day. This is a process, and it takes time. And to implement a workplace mental health program effectively, it has to be done not just slowly, but strategically. And mindfully, exactly. So it can't just happen quickly. We see that's going to be the fall off is going to be at that point. And you need to get people on board and get your key players in place. So having these conversations with workplaces helps to start to get their mind around it and understand the journey that they are going to be on in this call to action. The other piece of that is understanding just what mental health means too, and that's building that literacy and workplace mental health. So a couple of the things, again, I'll keep this relatively brief for us, but a couple of things that we do offer, one of them being mental health first aid training. And so this is obviously, as many of you probably know, certified program. It's across Canada. So we have trainers that have been certified, and we offer this to organizations. Some choose to start with this to start to build literacy, understand what mental health diagnoses might mean, and how in a crisis situation might you respond to those. So it's important to understand that this is not necessarily the be-all, end-all to your program, but this is one piece of it. This helps us to understand from an emergency response perspective. We have all kinds of plans in health and safety of what to do for emergency response situations, whether you've got a power outage or a train derailment or a chemical spill. What are we doing in the case of a traumatic incident or someone that may be in distress? How are we helping them, and what resources can we get them to? So that's one of the pieces that mental health first aid can offer. It can, in itself can be a bit reactive, but there's also preventative pieces to that, in that you're building the conversation, you're building literacy, and you're helping people to break down stigma. So a lot of great pieces in that course, and we're one provider of many across Canada that offer that. Other things that we can do as well, we offer management training sessions and general awareness sessions for staff as well. So the mental health first aid is a relatively intensive course. It's 2 days, so you can't, every employee in every organization is going to be able to go through that for a multitude of reasons. But if that's the case, then we do have other options for them as well. And then, of course, the general consulting, where those pieces of the needs assessment, the gap analysis, survey tools that we use, whether it's MIT or whether it's Guarding Minds, really collecting all of that together and helping them to understand it. We have a fantastic multitude of resources out there, but sometimes that becomes just a little bit overwhelming as well. So to help and guide employers and organizations to see what are the most effective tools for their organization is a key piece of our practice. It's not necessarily creating a whole bunch of new things, but it's gathering things together and streamlining the approach. And part of that is also working with the Ministry of Labour to put together a website that will be launched by the end of May. And it will help to bring together resources from all the different systems partners. And so that'll be healthymindsatwork.ca. You can check that out towards the end of the month as well. And similar to Mr. Flynn's address earlier today, talking about the webinar that will be launched on May 30th to kind of tie into that and talk about the national standard and various aspects of workplace mental health and what the system is doing. So we've got a couple different areas. In light of trying to keep it brief, I'll kind of start to close it off, but a number of different areas really trying to encapsulate this and help employers to guide and navigate their journey through workplace mental health. And it's a journey for the system, it's a journey for the organizations, and it's a journey for employees. So thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them throughout the day. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Danille. Does anybody have even one question for Danille before we take a break? Otherwise, she's available by email, and there'll be more to come, particularly leading up to the May 30th event.